sports journalist of international repute, joining us this morning. And of course, we'll be having a conversation of the growing tension within the NFF, the LFF, CAF, and the impact on the African continent. We also have Dr. Aliyu Ilyas, who is a developmental strategies and public affairs analyst, joining us this morning. Of course, we are still talking the escalation of the result of the verdicts given by CAF to Libya upon their maltreatment of the Super Eagles during their march in the country. Several issues that have spiraled out of control. Good morning, Mighty George. Good to have you rise and shine.
Good morning, and it's great to be here. Delighted to be a guest on your show this morning.
Thank you so much. How is the sports world doing? But before I take that, let me greet Dr. Aliyu. Dr. Aliyu, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
How is Abuja this morning?
Well, we are here, thanking God.
All right, then. So let's push in the conversation, because these are really strong things happening. Can literally topple over the unity of the continent and, even our approach to sports. So, Mighty George, let me come to you. It's your sector. What is going on? And how long have these rivalries been happening underground without having this kind of widespread report? And what are your perceptions as to how the LFF and even the Libyan government is approaching the CAF verdict for what happened a few weeks ago?
Well, those who follow football, especially club football, there's the CAF Champions League, the CAF Confederations Cup. Those are the, the top tier and second tier continental football, competitions in Africa. And that would involve a lot of, country relationships, other countries landing on other, territories and things like that. And it's been happening for a long time. For those who know the story of Aimba and how they won their, CAF Champions League title, would know that the Ismaili of Egypt, kept them through a very horrendous ordeal. But they were able to psychologically just get themselves out of that position and eventually get to win the CAF Champions League. So this has been happening from time immemorial. I think that most countries feel that if you psychologically frustrate a team off the pitch, it would affect them on the pitch. I've been on a number of these trips as well. I remember especially what happened in Sudan in 2016. I think that was 2015 when Stephen Keshi was still in charge. The first time Sudan ever beat, Nigeria on their soil, and that was in Omdurman. And they came, frustrated Nigeria, kept us at the airport for a long time. Eventually took us to a hotel that was not well equipped, and we got up there. There was no water rushing. There are things like that that would upset these players, especially as we have players who play internationally and do not see this kind of upset. So it has been happening, unfortunately for the Libyans. And in their bid to say they were retaliating for what we did to them in Rio. Incidentally, I was part of the organizing committee of that match between Nigeria and Libya. And I'm very well aware of the details and how the delegation here from the Aquarium State Football Association went to the airport. We're waiting for the Libyans at the Victor Atta International Airport, only to be told that they were diverting to, they were going instead to land in Port Harcourt. They were advised not to, but they decided to do it, hired their own bus and came down to Uyo. And ever since they arrived to Uyo, it's been, great hospitality for them. And we submitted all these documents to CAF when they were making their, doing their investigations. And CAF saw that the part of Nigeria were not complicit in the hosting of Libya, but they were definitely guilty of maltreatment of a Nigerian delegation, a foreign country delegation. Because at that point, the Nigerian players were ambassadors of the country. They were diplomats. And these are boys and these are players who travel to countries. They do not need to get visa. A national team or a football club, as it were, really don't need to get visas because they're internationally acclaimed, they're internationally known. The Libyans didn't see it coming that it would backfire like this. Thanks to the social media, I had all that happened there, how we were able to get Wi-Fi, from a certain player who eventually, everybody tapped into the Wi-Fi, and then before we knew it, the message started going out from the captain ACOM, and all these were well documented. Well, now coming to the relationship between Libya and Nigeria, it's always been frosty. Remember that almost every quarter we see Nigerians deported from Libya. So this was bound to make it even worse after CAF gave the ruling that the Libyans were guilty of this. First of all, it's not just about keeping us in an airport locked up for over 12 hours. It's about, the danger that their decision posed to a group of, a delegation from a country. Imagine the pilot had said that fuel was not enough in the aircraft for them to divert to another, location. They had agreed that they will land in Benghazi, and then that's when they are going to refuel. They will take a bus to Benini, where the stadium would be. By the way, they even changed the location of the stadium just a few weeks before the game. And then while they were about landing in Benghazi, you divert them to another airport. And the pilot had to struggle to get to that place. So in all ramifications, the Libyans got this one totally wrong. It's not just about football psychology. This was threat to life. So spot on to CAF, they got this one well. Although many feel that they should have done more in terms of banning them from playing in their home ground for years. But like you said, it was always going to happen that the Libyans were going to take it out on Nigerians who were there. We have a report that Nigerians, are filled up in the Libyan prisons. We also have seen in the news every time when we see the Libyans repatriate Nigerians. So unfortunately, it's come at this time, and football has escalated it. I think it's now beyond football. It's a national issue. It's an inter-country issue, and I hope that the Nigerian government can put its foot down. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? How will you stop people from going to Libya, which is the Mediterranean routes to Europe? How are you going to stop it? It's not just Nigerians who are in Libya. We have other African countries who endlessly try to use that route to get out. And it has indeed backfired on those who are there, the Libyans who are there now. But at the end of the day, I'm still excited that, CAF gave that ruling. But unfortunately, the Nigerians there are now suffering for it. And, we just hope that something will be done to remedy this. And my own opinion is that we should try and see how we can restrict our Nigerians from going to countries like that and trying to leave the country. If the economy is good, if the pain is not biting these days, we wouldn't see a more influx of Nigerians going to Libya. But unfortunately, that's the case right now.
This is really, really strong. So $50,000 is the fine that the NFF was given to pay. And in the uproar that we've seen with the incessant arrest of Nigerians, there have been even media outlets that are saying, Nigerians living in Libya and working in Libya will be fined at $500, and they're going to generate this fine from Nigerians. Do you think that CAF is going to have to get into the mix of these once again? Apart from the leg of the federal government is a different leg, but what role does CAF still have to play, especially in the face of the escalation?
Well, CAF have done theirs. Theirs is football. They acted on footballing issues. Imagine if that issue was taken to a civil court. I'm sure the Libyans might have gotten their way, but thankfully CAF rule on footballing issues, and that's what they've done. The best they can do now is maybe just speak to the Libyan people. I hope that you're not retaliating because of what we've done to you. But now it is now clearly a government issue. It's now clearly a diplomatic issue because CAF have done their own, and they've ruled on football, and they've insisted that Nigeria deserves the 3 points. I doubt there's much they can do at this point. But the Libyans, obviously, I'm not going to cast aspersions on a particular part of Africa and how they behave, but truly, I don't know. They sometimes see themselves as not Africans, and they do what they like to people of other African countries. So I was not surprised to see this. And like I have said, it is now up to how much diplomatic strength that Nigeria has. These people have shown that the vendetta is their aim. They've shown that they've been angry against Western Africa, precisely Nigeria, whom they feel, occupy most of the black African concerns in their countries. So it was going to happen. What are we going to do as a people? What would the Nigerians in Libya do? What would the federal government do? What would the United Nations do? These are the bodies that should be involved in this now. But for CAF, I'm sorry to say, they finished their job.
Okay, so one of the concerns, before I move to Dr. Aliyu this morning, because we need to also look at it from a policy direction, like you said, where does the AU and all these other agencies come in? But one of the things that Libyans have thrown up is the fact that the Super Eagles, the NFF, had a strong stay, where the Confederation of African Football is concerned, and that is the reason they allegedly got the kind of verdict that they got from the CAF. What's your take on that?
Well, they're saying that Nigeria has a stronger footing in CAF.
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying?
Yes.
Well, I mean, we all know where CAF is headquartered. CAF has its headquarters in Northern Africa. Which is Cairo, Egypt. Most of the matches that are being played right now, the next few, Africa Cup of Nations will be played in Morocco, which is North Africa. The World Cup in 2030 will be played in Morocco, which is North Africa, Morocco and Spain. So CAF is always organization, structure, and all, otherwise. CAF has always had its stronghold in North Africa. Maybe just kudos to the likes of Amadou Pinnick now, who has risen to the FIFA Council and has the ears of Gianni Infantino, the FIFA, president. Maybe we say kudos to that. But above all, the Libyans underestimated the power that, players of the Super Eagles have. With all due respect to their players, they don't have international players like our players. This was escalated by the biggest media houses, the BBCs, of course, Spectrum, everybody, Al Jazeera's, everybody blew this up. Because these boys play for the biggest teams in the world. And they had the biggest players talk about this. There was no way that CAF was just going to overlook what was going on. For instance, one of the headlines in one of the major international outlets was Super Eagles players held hostage at an abandoned Libya airport. Do you know what that means? And especially that's what happened. They were held hostage because they were supposed to be let into the country, but they were locked in with big chains and big padlocks.
Deliberately
you
so.
don't get off the hook. You can't get off the hook with that. They were locked in with no food, no water. That's a serious criminal case. And it's just that CAF had ruled on the footballing side. There should be a ruling on another side, on the diplomatic side. But it's almost like, things that happen in North Africa, people just don't want to touch it. This was entirely criminal. They had their visas. They did their visas. I was supposed to be on that trip, by the way. But because they had submitted visas earlier, like the Libyans requested, normally what happens, like when I follow the Super Eagles on a trip, it's visa on arrival. You just get names and they say, okay, who are those that are traveling on the Nigerian delegation? You don't insist that they must send their passport data pages, but this was done. Due diligence was done. And then at the end of the day, you divert them to an airport, and then you lock up the airport for over 13 hours. That is more than just football. That is hatred. That is criminal. And there was no way Libya was going to, escape that. And I must say that they are lucky to have escaped. It was only football that could rule like this. Maybe it was on a diplomatic scale and AU and all of that. It might take a long time, and people now start looking at how Nigerians have been messing up in Libya and how Nigerians are so much in the Libyan prisons and all of that. You know, how Nigerians are doing some illegal things in Libya. But this one is clearly different. And I just hope that the Nigerians who are there, you know, should learn from this and get to do the right thing. There's freedom of movement. I mean, United Nations approves that, and this is even Africa. So if you have Nigerians in your country, let's just if you tell us you don't want Nigerians in your country, then we'll know that the following countries are banned from getting into our country. Then we'll know. And that means in the first place, you don't need to host football matches that involve a country that you have banned. But Libya were banned from playing football. They were banned from hosting matches, especially after the post-Gaddafi era, and then an issue that happened in a Libyan stadium where people were killed. They just got unbanned to play football. And look at what you did. It shows that they have the tendency to be like this, and they're simply just telling FIFA again. Now that they know that we have leg in FIFA, they are trying to tell FIFA again that, you know what, ban us for life. And so there was no way they were going to escape this ban. It was always going to happen, especially with the interest of many international organizations. The football clubs of these teams, the biggest football clubs in the world, they didn't take it lightly that their players were held hostage. That's the word. So they were not going to escape it. Libya were just lucky to get off with just 3 points and 3 goals. But like I've said, it's unfortunate they have Nigerians in Libya now to shine with. It's over to the government.
Do they really have Nigerians in Libya to shine with? Dr. Aliyu, let's come to the diplomatic side. Whilst I'll just take one or two responses on the diplomatic side, from Mighty George. But he's touched on some of the key issues we want to talk about. This has escalated beyond football. Now we are having our citizens in Libya hiding out just to stay safe because of incessant arrest. I mean, there are wide reports of whether or not you have a credible entry and stay papers in the nation. If you are found outside, you're going to be arrested. What does this mean for us as a nation, especially looking at this, from diplomatic ends?
Right. I think before now, the challenges has been going on. In fact, I can tell you a lot of Nigerians have been wallowing in the prison of Libya because they are very, very hostile. And Mighty George has actually did justice to the sports side of it, because I'm happy he expressed it directly, because the case was that we treated them bad and they want to treat us the same way too. And he has clarified it as much as other Nigerians have tried to clarify. But for diplomatic, I think our government is not serious in terms of taking serious concern about its citizens, especially our diaspora agency, because they are supposed to naturally look into all these things that are happening. But Libya had, has the chance or the attitude of such thing over time. This is what we have known before now. So for me, I think diplomatically, the first thing is to summon the Libya ambassador, and I think we did so, and give them some conditions, because they are also here in Nigeria, if at all, not here to really make money, but for other diplomatic issues. But Nigeria should use Libya as an example. Nigerian government, should use Libya as an example to one other African country. Because if I tell you what Nigerians are going through, in fact, Ghana, South Africa, Rwanda, other countries, I can mention a lot of them, and Nigeria are suffering more. In fact, Nigeria have suffered more in African soil compared to outside Nigeria. So I think government should not take it lightly. There should be a diplomat. It's a lacuna that needs solution now. Nigeria should now put a serious solution and put a warning across Africa.
Okay, so I need to let Mighty George go in a moment. I would say thank you so much for giving us your time. Of course, an A-sports journalist. Of course, I have to also add that, forget the fact that his name is Mighty George. He's ours, like an Aquabum Extras. Mighty George, do you have any final words before I let you go, especially where this is concerned? How does this affect the future of football?
I think the CAF are beginning to get it right. We salute the ruling. We hope they continue, especially in interclub football, interclub championships, the CAF Champions League. Nigerians suffer this on, it's been so rampant. Rivers United, 2 seasons ago, trained in darkness in Libya. They were to train, and then the Libyans switched off, are frustrated at the airports, referee decisions, the fans. Sometimes even Black Africa, Western Africa do the same thing as well. I remember the AFCON final. Nigerians who flew all the way to watch that final ended up watching it in their hotel rooms because they were restricted from entering the stadium. Because once you're in Nigeria, no way, you're not getting in there. Football is about fair play. And football has been used to change some narratives. There were times when wars are fought, and then when there's a football match, everybody stands still. In Nigeria, we all know the importance of football as well. We hoped that football will be able to correct some things, end racism, institute fair play. Unfortunately, it's not happening. Countries who have their mindset about some other countries continue doing what they want to do.
Wow, really serious.
So we hope that at the end of the day, we'll see that. And I love how the Nigerian team comported themselves in the first place. None of the players was there making noise, trying to fight anybody. At the end of the day, they started playing cards, just having fun, hoping that the ordeal will end. So the Nigerians have shown that we're not that bad, but we're just about even keeping our people at home and not getting them to countries like Libya where they're at harm's way. We hope that all will be well. I sympathize with them. I'm not sure I'll be going to a place like Libya to earn a living or to seek for greener pastures, because they have shown this, that they are very, very, they're quite a cantankerous, nation when it comes to, socializing with other countries. So you just leave them to live their lives. And we hope that very soon things will be better. For it.
Okay. The network seems to be cutting you off. The network seems to be cutting Mighty George off, but it's been a really good conversation with him. Just like Dr. Ali said, speaking to a person of authority in that sphere is really important for this. But we do hope that this does not affect the future of football. We have to say a big thank you to you, Mighty George. George Inebasi, but we refer to him as Mighty George in the industry. Thank you so much for your time on Rise and Shine this morning. Must have lost him already. But then let's move to the diplomatic ends of this conversation. We still have, Dr. Aliyu Ilias, development and policy expert this morning. And Dr. Ilias, some of the conversations that have been pushed is that Nigeria needs to take this on as a federal government and take it to the African Union and other bodies that, unite the African continent. But the question now will be, do you think that Nigeria is gathering enough evidence to be able to move against, Libya in, the international courts if need be? This is, just like Matthew George said, it has moved away from football and it's becoming a strong threat to life of Nigerian citizens.
Right. For me, I think Nigeria have enough evidence against Libya. You recall that even CAF have to call for evidence of how the Nigeria treated them while they were in Nigerian soil. But it became clear that there was no intentional way of treating them bad from Nigerian side. So for me, I think Nigeria should take it up, take it to AU, and take it even to FIFA and to UN, because as it is now, I can tell you the aftermath of it may be worse. Because Libya might think, because of this experience or this sanction they have given them, they may want to fall back on Nigerian citizens. I can tell you Nigerian citizens are wallowing in Libya prison. A whole lot of them are there, I remember the kind of treatment people are getting there. I've saw a lot of video where people have been maltreated. So it's better to take it down. I think Abike Dabiri, the Diaspora Commission head, should take it to UN, take it to AU, and make it clear, even take it to even ECOWAS, so that it will look as if it's a war against a region. So we must take it to this, because anything that is not well documented may not have the bite as expected. But in terms of evidence, people are in their prisons, people, the judge also talks about where Nigerians went for a football match there, Cross River United also.
Yes.
The way they treat up the airport. So a lot of things have been shown that we are treated bad in Libya.
What kind of steps would you say that the federal government should be taking right now to help its citizens, apart from reporting, the case as it's now in the world view, as how Nigerians are being treated? What other steps? Because, there are some experts that are talking about the fact that if Nigerians can, they should repatriate back to their countries. And we've even seen Nigerians living in Libya now taking, venting their anger on the federal government. Talks about if Nigeria was working well, if the economy was working well, just like, Mighty George had said, why would I leave Nigeria to be trying to make ends meet in Libya? So are there other things that you think the federal government can do for its citizens at this time? Because we may be on the brink of a serious domestic escalation of this issue.
Right. The fact is that it's not bad to go to another country to work. Depends on the treaty that you have with that country. The treaty, we can have Nigeria and Libya chambers of commerce, commission, a lot of things can be done. But my major issue now is that most Nigerians also went to Libya through illegal means. These are my main worries. So I think the ambassador in Libya should by now take account and understanding of the Nigerians in Libya like never before. This is critical time that you must make sure that you understand who is who that are Nigerians. In fact, you can open a register through online that if you are in Libya, just fix your details there so that they can easily take knowledge of people. People go through Sahara Desert, go through different means, but tell them to come out and actually fill a form online so that they will be captured that yes, they're either legal or illegal. I think that will help. But if you say all Nigerians should come back to Nigeria, our economy is also not smiling at this point in time for Nigerians to come back. I can tell you, Libya money still have value in Nigerian soil. So Nigerians will still be there. But the thing is, let's be aware of where they are, what they do, and their location. So if there's any worries, any escalation, we could know that yes, we have so and so person. We can have a trace and a record. Because without the record, you wouldn't know what actually happened.
So one of the things that I saw over the course of the weekend was a clip from former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi, if my memory serves me correctly. But then the catch in the statement was the fact that Nigerians do not react enough as to when issues happen. So whether we are being maltreated in other parts of the world, or it's the the economic outturns that we're having from those in charge of our nation, we just find a way to take it on and move on. Do you think that in the face of all of this, that there's a different way that Nigerians should react than we're currently reacting? Case in point, Libyan media outlets. And that's one thing I also want you to touch on. The role of the media should be one that, such that we keep the lead on the case and manage these issues from escalating. But we even saw media outlets in Libya actually being the ones to incite the current unrest that we have. People on air, people in their blogs, inciting that Nigerians should be arrested and a $500, fine should be placed on them to generate the fine that CAF had placed on the LFF. So my question is, are Nigerians putting forward the right foot? And that even includes our federal government, because so far so good. What are the responses and the approach that the federal government has put forward in this case?
Now, the fact is that
fourth estate of the realm.
Thank you. The role of media sometimes could be the other way around, because those people that actually put up those articles or those suggestions in Libya may not be Libya government. That's why we must go in a diplomatic way. So I will not say we should respond to the person directly, but Nigerian government should go beyond CAF. Don't leave this for only CAF. Report to AU officially. Don't go beyond football. Make the diplomatic issue. Report to AU. Report to UN. Because if things get escalated, we can actually deal with it. Then in terms of Nigerian response, I can tell you that it's even media that make it much more important. Thanks to them that haven't even have Wi-Fi. And perhaps, you know, sport is every man's game. I wouldn't know about women, but it's every man's game. So football especially. So most of us take interest in that case. So for me, I think Nigeria should go beyond and submit official report. But I can tell you, in Africa, Nigeria is one of the countries that suffered such disrespect more. So sometimes when we say we are giant of Africa, if you go to other countries, you see the way they are treating you, you know you are not giant of Africa. You are just a giant by name, but not giant by hammer. You know, sometimes you have to be giant and have that action. I can tell you, as of today, Nigerians are not free in Ghana, Nigeria are not free in South Africa, Nigeria are not free in any part of North Africa. And this is the problem that we must take head on to really make sure that dignity is restored.
Wow, this is very serious concerns that we are having out of this. But now let me shift the conversation to, you know, the African continent, because just like you have cited, it's not just a Libyan, you know, issue. We're seeing it in, you know, Ghana, we're seeing it in South Africa and different parts of the continent. Why do you think, you know, there's a lot of hostility towards Nigeria and Nigerians living, you know, and working in Africa? What's the rising tension, and how can this be fixed? For instance, our president is the chairman of the ECOWAS, and we have, you know, lead men in different, you know, African bodies. But why do we have this, you know, hate, you know, for Nigerians? What's the missing link?
So if Joe Biden can call our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because of this, man that is involved in cryptocurrency and forex issue, you could see how important they place that man. So flip it around. Assuming it's not football people, it's just a traveler that have negative experience like this. Will government take action? That is a major question that we need to look at very well. You recall that if anything happens to South Africans in Nigeria, you see the president intervene. So Nigerian government must learn how to intervene and support their own. I think that's the critical issue. In Ghana here, a lot of things are happening. Ghanaians are here in Nigeria. We don't even know the difference between a Ghanaian and a Nigerian in Nigeria, because you don't know the difference. As at today's news, a lot of Chinese were also caught, you know, doing a lot of things. They will settle diplomatically and they will still go free. So I think Nigeria must change their government especially must change the style and make sure that they support the citizen more. A good example in Ghana, you cannot own a shop. I don't think you can own a shop directly in Ghana. You must go through a Ghana who is an agent that will give you an agent. You know, a lot of hostility. And I think that hostility does not come just like that. I think it's because of fear of competition. You recall that virtually anywhere Nigeria goes to, Nigeria always shine. I think taking shine in their country is one of their problems. But we don't have issues with that. Because if you notice, Nigerians in Ghana are doing well in terms of entertainment, in terms of, you know, even education, a lot of things. Anywhere you find Nigeria, we try to go extra mile. I think that's the major problem. And the worst country Nigeria are suffering now more is South Africa.
Yeah, so if let's move the conversation to you know, South Africa for a moment. Now we know Miss Chidinma Adesina, a 23-year-old who made it to the finals of the Miss South Africa pageant, of course, which this was meant to be some sort of reinvention of the traditional pageantry show, as it were. But Ms. Adesina was born in South Africa's historic Soweto township to a Nigerian father and a South African mother who also has a Mozambican ancestry. Now, as of 29th October, 2024, South Africa's Department of Home Office Affairs informed Parliamentary Committee that Adesina and her mother would lose their documents, having failed to meet a deadline to justify their citizenship claim. So we are saying that there is a serious ongoing controversy of, identity, nationality, and xenophobic affairs in South Africa, especially when Nigerians are concerned. And just like, Dr. Ali was touching on this morning, one of the worst hit zones where Nigerians suffer this anomaly is in South Africa. And I think that will be seconded by Ghana. But then let's look at the conversation in South Africa and where Ms. Chidima is concerned. This has been happening. She had to withdraw from the pageantry last minute after rising to become, a finalist in the pageantry. And then the Lagos wing of, fashion and all of that invited her to Nigeria last minute. She scaled through and was crowned, the Miss Universe for Nigeria. She's representing Nigeria in a few days, of course, on the international space. But Dr. Ali, let's talk about this. The South African government pushed an investigation into the nationality of the Adesinas, and her mother was accused of an identity fraud at the time of her birth. Now, this is a national issue. They're pushing to withdraw their, nationalization as a country. Should we be concerned as a nation? Once again, just like you said, is this something that Nigeria, Dabiri, Erewa, should her nose be in this matter as we speak? It's gradually growing also.
Right. Well, first thing, I want us to focus on her winning the Miss Universe. I think that would have give us more joy because she's our own. We don't deny such thing. But let's give a background to our rivalry. There is a serious rivalry between South Africa and Nigeria, be it in sports, be it in entertainment, be it in education, anywhere you could think. In fact, business-wise, there's a lot of rivalry in our part, and they seem to be winning at every point in time. And why are they winning? Is because they have their country always behind them. You can see this one, they even took this one to parliamentary affairs beyond their immigration and what have you. You can see that the level at which they took it. So let's come to business-wise. If you look at Nigeria now, most companies that are thriving are from South Africa. And they are thriving, not thriving small, thriving very well. Show me or tell me one company that is of Nigerian origin that is surviving in South Africa. There is none, simply because of their labor law and their intention not to allow us to actually scale through. That's one. Number two, most of our young persons that are in South Africa, once they know you have Nigerian origin, it becomes a problem. But not only Nigeria in this case, even all Africans are suffering. The only Nigeria have it more. Once they get to know you're a Nigerian, they think you are taking advantage of their women, of their men, of everything. Perhaps it's because we have that paying chance to do something extra, to show our skills, and that's why we are shining in their country. So diplomatically, I think Nigeria is not getting it. I can tell you one of a business mogul who is in media sector, who has a broadcast organization and print media, went to South Africa to actually invest one of his company that is in UK now. He couldn't survive just for a month because of the labor law and because he's of Nigerian origin. They make sure they frustrate him out of business that you have to move. Imagine you want to invest in South Africa and you cannot invest, and you now move to UK to invest. Do you see how hostile that could be in the soil of Africa? Now, moving to Ms. Chidima issues, I think Ms. Chidima, it's quite unfortunate that they deny her all what she deserves, because by birth, she's a citizen. She was given birth to in South Africa, and she's never even claimed that she's not South Africa, even in her competition. But having done some research about her, they think she will be taking the shine out of their own citizen. Never knew that she's also a citizen. So now they have denied her, and I'm happy that a Nigerian, trust us, we have rescued her, and she's now on the international are saying. I pray she emerged the winner. But I think this is a wrong signal from South Africa. Let's go historically. I don't think there's any African country that the whole African continent have suffered for, that Nigerians have suffered for, like South Africa. We trade off a lot of, our parents trade off a lot of things for them. I also recall we give them about 300 visas, they travel to Nigeria to come and study. During the appetite, a lot of things were made easy. People like Wole Soyinka take the forefront. Everybody fight for their freedom. Now they have the freedom, but they think with that freedom, they can now malhandle other Africans. I think we need to go diplomatic. In fact, I can tell you, I don't want to be so authoritative because most of Nigerians in South Africa may actually end up there by road. But I can tell you most of them now are under serious pressure. A pressure of surviving because the community is hostile to them, the government is hostile to them. They are now playing hide and seek within the city. So it's because of the hostility. And you are here doing multi-billion-dollar business conveniently in Nigeria. I think at the point we need to do it for that. Whereby we cannot survive in your country, you should also not survive in our country. Because if you don't survive in our country, if I tell you that today, if the about 7 businesses that I know in that South Africa own origin does not survive here, South Africa as a country is going to have issue. So imagine we now want to treat them in that way. It should have been worse. So I think South Africa should rethink, and the ambassador should be summoned to actually make sure that they reduce this level of hostility to Nigeria.
So these are really strong points that you've pepped up this morning. And we know that, like you said, it's not just about Nigeria. South Africa has a complicated relationship with the rest of the continent. Is this some form of trauma effect of the apartheid on them? Because how does an African nation try to stand on its own so much? Now, you're seeing its relations, even in diplomatic ties, more on the BRICS end. So they're doing more, relations with the likes of Russia, just the rest of the Arab world, as opposed to having stronger ties on the AU, the UN, and the likes of it. How can, other nations in Africa begin to address this issue? And I'd like you to stay on the conversation of the ability to do business in other parts of Africa. We have these treaties that are signed on AU, United Nations, free entry, some laws that allow people from other parts of the nation of the continent to come to your nation and do business. But when we see one party consistently flouting these orders and these treaties, these MOUs that have been signed, shouldn't these bodies come in and intervene? For instance, I'll give a clear example. One of the businesses, South Africa runs that is churning in multi-billions of naira, that will be now to their own economy, is the operation of DSTV in Nigeria. And just last week, we saw the National Assembly pass the bill for, Nigerians to begin to pay as you go. That's you pay as you watch. And this is something that has been on the floor of plenary for several years, and they've been kicking against it. If we even get this bill right, sign it into a law, now we would be cutting back on the amount of profits that they're making out of Nigeria without being cordial with our people. So don't you think we should see some more of these moves from Nigeria and the rest of the continent, especially where the maltreatment of our people is concerned?
Well, I think the issue of even cutting their cost is not what I want, or their profit rather. There should be a substitution. We should have alternative. You remember that South Africa, the DSTV also have a Go TV. So I think we need a competition. Let's have competition like the way we have in telecos, where we have both local and foreign. They are tied to South Africa still own one of the telecos. So if we can have like 2 alternatives, that if I can switch from A to B, let Nigerians empower one of their own to come to that level. Without competition, there's nothing you could do that could be better. We want alternative that Nigerians can switch from A to B, and effective. Because I saw there's one in Nigeria, was it TSTV or one of those stations. I went there, I saw the facility, but it couldn't see the light of the day. So Nigerians should support their own, even if it is sport, let our sport be sound, and let us go to Premiership and get those things that can bring healthy competition. If not for that, monopoly give room for arbitrary increment and price. But I think I need to hammer on this before I go on this line of thought. I think there is an historic gap from South Africa. I think they need to be educated. They need to be tell history. But I discovered that even the government of South Africa are denying people to know about the story. So let Africa start telling them their stories. I think that would have made them to come back to senses. We can do a documentary on how Nigerians have actually helped them. Let Zimbabwe, that's close to them, do a documentary. Let Ghana do a documentary. Let Liberia do a documentary, or to show them that no, you prefer to do BRICS now. You don't want to. In fact, let me even surprise you. You know, we have an AFCTA agreement. Up to now, I'm not sure South Africa have signed, because they don't see us as a business. They don't see it as a business opportunity. They think it will reduce them, and it will reduce their own profit, because they think they are much more industrialized, and they want to decide on what to do and what not to do. But don't blame them. Maybe because of other African countries are not as serious. Because if we are serious, someone cannot be taking advantage of us, and we cannot do business in their own country. That is not a good one. I can tell you about 5 companies that is from South Africa. If you remove it in Nigeria, South Africa economy is going to crash. But they don't think about that. They don't allow us to thrive. They don't allow us to have business. They don't allow anything about Nigerians. They also always see us as competition. They don't want us to go run the African affair.
Okay, so let me talk about this, before I let you go this morning. Talk about the attitude of the Nigerian government and the international community handling regional institutions in issues of exploiting the African continent. Now, because in this conversation we've just had, it looks like not only is the international world exploiting the African continent, but Africans are also exploiting each other. Now, the institutions of the AU, the ECOWAS, the United Nations, are they falling short of their fundamental pacts for being created in the first place? And how can we push these conversations when we have their conferences to rather look at the fact that we need to forge a unified front as a continent?
Right. I think it's very, very key that the AU starts looking at it from that perspective, because you will come to Nigerians to do your white-collar job. We will go to South Africa and start giving us menial job. If I thought we are qualified for a good job, you said no. That's the case in hand with Chidema. I can tell you about real estate. I remember when Nigerians have real estate in South Africa, they now try to push him out of this business too. But if you come to Nigeria, they haven't. So I think AU needs to make it balanced. What we can do in our country should be what we can also do in your country. Not that someone will now be a sub-Africa to another African country. Perhaps, I think Nigeria, with our population, with our wealth, with our experience, we shouldn't even go a cap in hand talking to South Africa. We should just go by having action. But I think for me, if I have the opportunity to be President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I will just say, if we cannot survive in your country, we will also make it difficult for you to survive. Just like what is happening in China and America. America will say we'll ban this from China. China will say no, we can ban this, we also do this. And see, because we must come together to have a united Africa.
We need to have a united Africa, but that's it looks like a journey that's still far out ahead of us. Our leaders don't seem to see eye to eye. Our people don't seem to see eye to eye. But it's a big call on the Nigerian people and the Nigerian government, to give more value to our people. And Dr. Ali, I think you would agree to me that this falls back to the value that the Nigerian state places on, its people. If we have value for Nigerians, it would be a swift case of response and reaction when Nigerians are ill-treated in any part of the world. But we seem to take the back burner until it has become a media sensation. Maybe this week, when we talk long enough about it in the media space, then we'll begin to see our diplomats running around and trying to handle the case in Libya. But let's take your final words before we let you go this morning.
Right. I think Madam Irewa and our foreign affairs ministers
Yes.
should start doing something about our diplomatic stand outside Nigeria. We must be respected. We must be honored as a Nigerian, both in Africa and in global community. I think that is very, very key. We must start doing that now.
Seeing the addition of Ojuku's wife, Bianca, into the space of the foreign affairs duties, are there any expectations that you have with regard to this? And it looks like she's, for foreign affairs for state, but this seems to be a big lump of task that has landed on that ministry just as she came in. Any expectations?
Right. I think she's well experienced, well exposed, so we expect better from her. And from her speech, she has actually solved some problem in Spain, so I think she will go ahead to solve a lot of problems. It will be a credit to her personality.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali Ilyas, for your time. Of course, looking at the diplomatic import of what's happening in Libya to Nigerians, and also the xenophobic attitude of South Africa to Nigerians. Case in point, Chidinma Adesina. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.